Hi everyone, thank you for watching my presentation today. My name is Eric Kino. I'm currently taking MBA 690 Strategic Management, which is taught by Professor Brandon Schulte. I'll be looking at Lockheed Martin Corporation, doing a strategic management analysis on the company. To start, the mission statement is our mission is to deliver innovative, comprehensive, sustainable solutions that help our customers achieve their objectives and enable a better future for everyone. And then their vision statement is to be the global leader in solving the world's most complex challenges faced by our customers, providing them with value added and sustainable solutions that positively impact their business and the world. So the first piece of the analysis is Porter's 5 forces analysis. So in summary, the competitive rivals that we looked at were the Boeing Company, General Dynamics, L3Harris Technologies, Northrop Grumman, and RTX Corporation. That's from Lockheed Martin's 2023 10K. Now, this competitive rivalry is very strong for Lockheed Martin as their competitors offer many of the similar products, and it's a very competitive environment. The threat of new entrants is pretty low. Grattan stated in 2024 that this is mainly due to high capital requirements, economies of scale, and regulation, along with government contracts. Supplier bargaining power is moderate. This is mainly because of Lockheed Martin's 13,000 suppliers that it uses. However, they are reliant on scarce raw earth mineral materials and other important components such as aluminum, titanium, carbon fiber, and advanced microelectronics. Buyer bargaining power is high, and this is mainly because Lockheed Martin's main customer is the U.S. government, and the U.S. government makes up more than 70% of Lockheed Martin's revenues. And then finally, the threat of substitution is low. This is because of the specific technology and the products that Lockheed Martin makes. One argument could be made for threat of substitution being more man-to-man or hand-to-hand combat. However, this is highly unlikely as armed conflicts continue to be more and more reliant on highly sophisticated technology and weapons. So moving on to the EFE and IFE matrices. We'll start with the main opportunity for Lockheed Martin, and that is an increase in the U.S. government defense budget. It is expected that the U.S. government is to propose $850 billion budget in 2025, and that's according to Garamo and Lopez 2025. And then moving down to threats. On the other side of that is if the U.S. government decreases their budget, Lockheed Martin could take a significant hit because of their dependence on the U.S. government. And one of their biggest strengths is the market share position that they have. Lockheed Martin currently has a 25% market share, according to CSImarket.com in 2024. And the greatest weakness is Lockheed Martin's dependence on the U.S. government, being 73% of Lockheed Martin's revenue comes from the U.S. government. So then with the competitive profile matrix, we looked at the Boeing Company and General Dynamics Corporation. Overall, Lockheed Martin has done a great job gaining a competitive advantage over these two companies specifically. The two companies in competition with Lockheed Martin are pretty close in the 2.5 and 2.49 rating. The only areas where Lockheed Martin could work on is market share, and that's mainly because of the Boeing Company having a larger portion of market share because of that aerospace and commercial segment that they are in. Lockheed Martin should be careful with trying to overtake them if they were to try and expand into some of these markets, as the Boeing Company has had some issues financially because of the commercial aircraft industry. So starting with the first strength opportunity strategy, with an increase in the U.S. government defense budget, Lockheed Martin would be in a great position by using their significant market share to take advantage of that increase. And then a strength and threat strategy would be to diversify revenue by branching out into other business segments to avoid the reliance on the U.S. government. And the weakness and opportunity strategy would be to help decrease that reliance on the US government. Specifically, they could expand into the aerospace travel industry, which has had significant growth over the last few years since COVID-19. And then finally, weakness and threat strategy would be to monitor cost and contract bids in the event that the US government did decrease their budget. That would cause for a more competitive environment for Lockheed Martin and its competitors. So by monitoring costs, Lockheed Martin would be able to be more competitive with their contract bids to ideally maintain their relationship and their standing with the US government. So with the BCG matrix, the three industries that we looked at were space, aeronautics, and the defense systems. And Lockheed Martin was the top firm in all of these industries with $27 billion in aeronautics and defense systems and $12.6 billion in space industry, according to their 2023 10K report. The other companies that we looked at was Northrop Grumman, General Dynamics Corporation, and the Boeing Company. Lockheed Martin should focus on the space industry, as this is in the star segment, meaning that it has a high industry growth rate, and also Lockheed Martin has a high market share for that industry as well. So investing in that will potentially turn that into a cash cow, which is where aeronautics and defense system is really close to being at, just with where the industry growth rate is. So by focusing on space, Lockheed Martin can continue to churn and try to get more cash from now a third segment. So looking at the QSPM matrix, the two strategies that we looked at were expanding into the commercial aircraft industry and increasing research and development costs for unmanned aircraft using artificial intelligence. So because of Lockheed Martin already being significantly involved in the weapons systems, increasing R&D spend for unmanned aircraft using artificial intelligence for those aircraft weapons systems did perform a little bit better through this analysis compared to the commercial aircraft industry. So it'd be more advantageous for Lockheed Martin to pursue this strategy versus trying to expand into the commercial aircraft industry. And that also would have a very intensive capital requirement of trying to either acquire or start up a new business. And it'll be a little bit more temperamental depending on other outside factors versus the weapon system is a little bit more solidified through its government contracts. The financial ratio analysis shows that Lockheed Martin is in a pretty good financial position. This is mainly due to its high profits and revenue. The debt is also a little bit high, but that is somewhat expected for this industry and how highly capital intensive it is. So because of this, the main recommendations is to keep debt financing relatively level and or low, unless there are some capital research projects that will require more funding. Only use debt financing if it's necessary and if it will lead to an increase in sales. In 2023, Lockheed Martin had a strong compound annual growth rate for net income being 21%. So if they can keep this up, that will lead to increased cash flows that the company can use for these research projects and or to pay down more of its debt to get in a better leverage position. So the last segment to look at is ethics. The main kind of topics that we'll cover is corruption, legal issues, the company's code of conduct, ethical issues, and then its potential ethical issues that it'll face in the future. So currently for its code of conduct, Lockheed Martin covers topics such as antitrust, human trafficking, government employees, equal employment, and corruption, according to the business conduct compliance training from their website. Their ethics awareness training has a 100% participation rate, and this is because of the CEO training the leadership team executives who then teach their respective teams, which then trickles down into each employee. So they're effectively getting a 100% participation rate through this training system. There's currently 2 material lawsuits that Lockheed Martin is involved with, one of which is due to an acquisition of a company that was facing this legal issue before Lockheed Martin had purchased the company. And moving on then to some of its ethical issues, the reason why corruption is one of the main bullet points on here is because Lockheed Martin has had a little bit of trouble in the past with this. So in Jones 2023 reported that in 1970 and 1975, there's a significant bribery scandal, which resulted in Lockheed Martin paying bribery payments of $38 million. And then again in 2015, Lockheed Martin paid $4.7 million in a settlement for charges that it used government funds to lobby for federal officials. So these are two areas that Lockheed Martin should continue to work on, is as corruption is already in its code of ethics of something to work through and also bring awareness to its company and its employees. Another issue, as autonomous weapon systems continue to develop, ethics and controversy surrounding those pieces of weaponry will also increase. So Lockheed Martin will have to be careful with the position that they take with ethics in these systems, as the ethical requirements for these systems will simply have to be programmed, which can obviously be controlled by various individuals. So they'll have to tread very carefully, as this is kind of a new topic and a new area that people are discussing. They'll need to make sure that they have proper code of conduct and ethics backing this system. In conclusion, these matrices show how Lockheed Martin has gained a significant competitive advantage over its competitors. My final recommendations for Lockheed Martin is to continue to invest in space, AI, and unmanned weapon systems. This will potentially lead to an increase in revenue, cash flow, keep debt in check, and provide an increase in shareholder wealth. The final declaration is that Lockheed Martin is set up for success because of its significant portion of government contracts that it has. In essence, it's partially backed by the U.S. government because of its reliance on its revenue. So if they can keep this up and keep up with the rapidly developing technologies in those sectors, such as space, AI, and unmanned weapon systems, they'll continue to do a pretty good job of keeping that competitive advantage over their competitors. Thank you for listening to my presentation, and have a great rest of your day.